You didn't destroy our marriage in Paris. You destroyed it before you got on that plane. And that's why my reply stays the same: divorce. That's what I said at the end. But to understand why those words came out of me with zero hesitation, you need to stand with me in the exact moment this entire thing detonated. The moment my phone buzzed at 3:14 p.m. on a Thursday and my life split cleanly into before and after. The message came from my wife, Lena. Just a simple notification. Bright, harmless, innocent. The kind of message that should have made me smile because she was on her long-dreamed-of girls' trip to Paris, the one I encouraged her to take, even though she'd been acting weird for months. Distracted. Moody. Guarded with her phone in ways she never used to be. I didn't press too hard. I told myself stress could make anyone behave differently. I told myself marriage meant patience. But when I tapped the notification and her selfie opened, something cold and sharp slid across my chest. At first glance, she looked beautiful. Paris sunset behind her, wine glass in hand, red lipstick matching the little beauty mark above her lip. She even gave that goofy, half-wink smile she always sent me whenever she was tipsy. But there was movement behind her. A blurred figure stepping into frame. A man leaning in too close. My heart stalled before my brain recognized him. Damien. Her ex-fiancé. The man she once said almost ruined her life. The man she spent 2 years healing from. The man she promised she would never speak to again. Her caption hit me an instant later. Look who I accidentally bumped into, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Accidentally. My stomach twisted. Because 6 months earlier, I'd overheard her sobbing in the bathroom, whispering to someone named D. She told me it was Danielle from work. I wanted to believe her. But the way she clutched her phone afterward, the way she started wearing makeup to run errands, the way she suddenly deleted old photos of us from her page, it all scraped at the inside of my chest like something unfinished, something unsaid. I zoomed in on the picture. Damien wasn't just in the background. His arm was behind her, almost touching her shoulder. His face was turned toward her like he'd been talking to her right before she snapped the selfie. I sat there frozen, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles ached. A ringing built in my ears, buzzing loud enough to drown out everything else in my apartment. I tried to swallow. My throat felt lined with gravel. Before I could process the first image, another message came through. It was another selfie. This one worse. Much worse. She was laughing. He was leaning directly against her, his hand on the back of her waist like it was muscle memory. Like he had every right to touch her like that. And she sent it to me with a joking caption. Don't be jealous, loudly crying face, it's just funny running into him. My chest tightened until it hurt to breathe. I typed one word. Divorce. But I didn't send it. Not yet. Because something deep inside me whispered. This isn't a mistake. This isn't random. Something has been building toward this. And whatever it is, it's bigger than these pictures. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Lena. It was one of her friends. The message read, Ethan, call me. Now. I felt the floor drop away. Please, before I continue, please like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting stories. I didn't even get off the couch. I just stared at my screen, my thumb hovering above Chloe's name. Chloe isn't the type to panic. She's loud, chaotic, unpredictable. But panicked? Never. So the fact that she was messaging me privately, while on the trip, while with Lena, sent a crack straight through my spine. I hit call. She picked up on the first ring, whispering like she was hiding in a bathroom. Ethan? Oh my God. Please tell me you saw the pictures. I didn't trust my voice yet. I only managed a flat. What the hell is going on, Chloe? I heard her exhale shakily. Listen, I don't have a lot of time. They're all in the other room. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. A slow pulse began behind my eyes, a migraine loaded with anger. What wasn't supposed to happen? You seeing it, she said. Not like that. Not without context. I sat up straighter. Context? My wife is taking selfies hugging her ex-fiancé. What context am I missing? She groaned. Okay. Just don't freak out. I laughed. It wasn't a sane laugh. It was a man trying not to throw his phone across the room. Chloe, I'm well past, don't freak out. Talk. She hesitated so long, I thought the call dropped. When she finally spoke again, her voice was small, almost guilty. They didn't just run into him. A cold, spreading numbness crawled under my skin. What do you mean? They knew he was here. I stopped breathing. They planned to meet up tonight. A group dinner. Just to catch up. I swear it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. Lena just said she needed closure, and we all tried to talk her out of it, but she kept saying you two have been distant, and… distant. I repeated, my voice a low growl I didn't recognize. We live together. We talk. But even as I said it, a memory punched through the denial. A month ago, Lena sitting on the edge of the bed at 2 a.m., scrolling through photos she wouldn't let me see. Her saying, I feel invisible sometimes, Ethan. Without looking at me. Her asking, do you think people can outgrow love? Then brushing it off as just a thought. Her suddenly starting therapy again, but refusing to tell me what she was discussing. Little cracks. Small fractures. Things I chalked up to stress. But now, they stacked into something huge, looming, dangerous. Chloe, I said quietly, why didn't she tell me he would be there? Because she knew you'd say no. That was the first blow that actually made my throat burn. Before I could speak again, I heard noise on her end. A door handle jiggle, then Lena's voice calling her name. Shit, Chloe muttered. I have to go. No, Chloe. What else aren't you telling me? Her breathing sped up like she was trying to decide between loyalty and conscience. Ethan, there's something you won't forgive. Something I should have told you weeks ago, but I didn't know if it was my place. What is it? The bathroom door creaked open. Please, I whispered. Tell me. She inhaled sharply. I can't say it here. Just look at Instagram. Not your feed. Check our friends' stories. The call ended. I opened Instagram immediately. And there it was. A 3-second boomerang that hit harder than the selfie. Lena laughing, head thrown back. Damien picking her up off the ground like he used to do when they were together. Her arms around his shoulders. Her face pressed against his neck. The caption from another friend said, Chaotic energy sparkles red heart. Chaotic. Yeah, that's one word for it. But watching that clip, I realized something deeper. Lena didn't look drunk. She didn't look confused. She looked happy. Happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. My phone buzzed again. A new message request. From Chloe. No text. Just a single photo. Lena and Damien. Holding hands. My heart stopped. It's strange how a single image can collapse everything you thought was solid. The photo Chloe sent wasn't dramatic or sexual or cinematic. It wasn't even intimate in an obvious way. It was worse. It was natural. Their fingers intertwined the way people do when they've done it 1,000 times before. The kind of handhold that only happens when two people fall back into an old rhythm without thinking. Lena's thumb rested lightly on top of Damien's hand, like muscle memory guiding her. He wasn't even looking at the camera, he was looking at her, smiling. My chest tightened so hard I had to stand, pacing the living room like I was trying to outrun the heat rising under my skin. I dialed Chloe back immediately. No answer. Again. No answer. A sick feeling coiled in my stomach. Something wasn't adding up. The pictures, the secrecy, the way Lena had been drifting away for months. Every flashback started connecting with a click I didn't want to hear. I'd always trusted her. Even when she gave me reasons not to, I tried to explain them away. Like the night I came home early and found her on the balcony crying, staring at her phone. She said she was overwhelmed. She couldn't explain why. She hugged me like she was scared of something, but didn't tell me what. Or when she cleared her message threads because her phone needed storage. Or when she insisted on changing her passcode after years of having the same one we both knew. Little things. Little things that suddenly weren't so little. My phone dinged with a new notification, an Instagram story from one of the girls on the trip. I opened it. It was a video of all of them sitting around a table on a Parisian rooftop. Wine glasses everywhere, loud conversations, the kind of ambience that should have felt fun. But my eyes went straight to Lena. She wasn't sitting with the girls. She was at the corner of the table, leaned in close to Damien. His hand rested casually on the back of her chair, a gesture meant for a boyfriend, not an accidental encounter. She laughed at something he whispered, lifting her hand to cover her mouth the way she used to with me when she was genuinely amused. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. Then something else hit me. There was another man in the frame, a waiter, who noticed the camera and looked uncomfortable, glancing between them. Like even a stranger could see this wasn't two exes catching up. It was something else. Something deeper. Something that shouldn't have been happening. My phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. French country code. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. A woman's voice, polished, irritated, with a French accent. Is this Ethan Carter? Yes. This is Camille. A name I didn't recognize. Until she added, I'm Damien's girlfriend. Everything inside me went still. Listen carefully, she said, her tone clipped with fury. You need to know what your wife is doing. And why she's doing it. Because it is not what you think. And it is not what she told you. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? She exhaled, the sound sharp and bitter. I was at that dinner before I left. I saw everything. Lena did not bump into Damien. She contacted him. She begged him to meet her. And she wasn't honest with you. Or with anyone else. My fingers went numb around the phone. She continued, her voice colder now. And if you think what you've seen so far is bad, there is something else you need to hear. She paused. Too long. Long enough that my imagination filled the silence with every horrific possibility. Tell me, I choked out. I will, she said. But not over the phone. I'm sending you something. A beat. Then she added. And when you see it, you'll understand everything. The line clicked dead. My phone buzzed with an incoming file. And my entire body braced itself. The file from Camille loaded slowly, like the universe wanted to stretch my agony as far as it could. I sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on my knees, staring at the spinning circle on my phone screen. My thumb shook. My breathing sounded too loud in my ears. When the file finally opened, it wasn't a video. It wasn't another picture. It was a screenshot. A reservation confirmation. Dinner for 3. At a rooftop restaurant in Paris. Booked under Lena's full name. 2 weeks ago. I blinked, swallowed, and read it again. 2 weeks. Before she left. Before she kissed me goodbye at the airport. Before she told me she needed space to reset and reconnect with her girls. She had already planned to see him. And the third guest, I recognized the name. Camille. My stomach clenched. This wasn't some spontaneous, drunken reunion. This wasn't some chance run-in. This was deliberate. Calculated. She had literally arranged a reunion dinner with her ex-fiancé behind my back. Before I could fully register the betrayal, my phone buzzed again. Camille. You need to call me. Now we talk. I tapped call, so fast my thumb hurt. She answered on the first ring. You saw it, she said sharply. Yes. My voice cracked. Why was he at dinner with her? Why were you? Because she requested it, she snapped. She wrote to him weeks ago saying she wanted closure. I told Damien he was being an idiot agreeing to it, but he thinks he is some kind of, I don't know, emotional savior. A narcissist. He likes being in control. I pressed my palm to my forehead, a bitter laugh catching in my throat. So, she just contacted him? Out of nowhere? No. Not out of nowhere. Camille's tone changed, colder, heavier. Your wife has been messaging him for months. Everything inside me froze. Months. My mind flooded instantly. Every moment of doubt I'd buried reappearing with brutal clarity. The nights she turned her phone face down. The times she stayed late at therapy and didn't want to talk afterward. The sudden way she started wearing perfume to go to the gym. The way she flinched when I asked her why she'd been distant. Why? I whispered. Why would she do this? Why now? Because she is confused. Camille said bluntly. Because she is weak. Because she is nostalgic for a past she does not remember accurately. I clenched my jaw. But the pictures, her laughing with him, letting him touch her, that, Camille cut in, was not how the night started. Trust me. What do you mean? She sighed. When we got there, your wife was shaking. Nervous. She wasn't smiling. She was distant and cold. But Damien, he knows how to push emotional buttons. He told her stories. Jokes. He kept touching her hand. Old habits. She let him. I watched it happen. I closed my eyes, trying to breathe. But Ethan, Camille's voice softened, not kindly, but sympathetically. There is something worse. Something I didn't want to tell you. But you need the full truth. My eyes snapped open. What? Another long silence. Too long. Then, she told him she still thinks about him. She told him she misses the way things felt with him. And she told him she isn't sure she married the right man. My heart didn't just break, it hollowed. But Camille wasn't finished. She also told him she doesn't know who she is anymore. That she feels like she lost herself after getting married. That he, Damien, represents a version of herself she misses. I felt sick. She cried the entire cab ride to the restaurant, Camille continued. Not because she wanted him, but because she didn't want him. Do you understand? I didn't. Not fully. Not yet. But then she said something that hit me harder than all of it. Your wife didn't cheat on you. Not physically. Not yet. But emotionally? She paused. She crossed that line months ago. I leaned back, breath shaking, staring at nothing. Camille continued. That's why she sent you that selfie. She wanted to see how you'd react. She wanted a sign you still cared. A childish, stupid game, yes. But the truth? She is spiraling Ethan. And Damien is taking advantage of it. My throat tightened. And there is something else, Camille added. The other girls, they know more. Much more. Before I could ask what she meant, someone knocked loudly on her door. She whispered, I have to go. The line clicked. My phone buzzed instantly with another notification. A new message. From Chloe. We need to talk. Lena is losing control. The room suddenly felt too small. Too quiet. Too heavy with answers I wasn't ready to hear. But one thing was clear. Whatever was happening in Paris, it wasn't even close to over. I felt myself slipping out of my own body as I rushed down the hospital corridor. Everything blurred. The white walls, the sharp smell of disinfectant, the buzzing fluorescent lights, yet every sound felt painfully loud. My heartbeat throbbed in my ears, drowning everything else, as if my body knew before my mind could process it. Something terrible was waiting behind that door. When I finally reached the nurse's station, I couldn't speak. My throat tightened, my tongue felt numb, and for a moment, I couldn't even breathe. I just held out the vibrating phone, the message from my neighbor still glowing on the screen. It's your wife, something happened, ambulance. The nurse read it, her eyes softening in a way that made my chest collapse. I didn't want softness. Softness meant pity. Pity meant something irreversible. I need to see her. I finally forced out. She guided me to a small consultation room instead of the emergency ward, and that alone told me more than anything she could have said. They don't take you to those rooms unless they're preparing to break you. I sat down because I couldn't remain standing. My legs trembled like they no longer belonged to me. A doctor walked in, middle-aged, tired eyes, steady voice. He sat across from me like he'd rehearsed this 1,000 times. Maybe he had, but that didn't prepare me for the moment he said my name, slowly, like he didn't want to say what came next. Your wife was found unconscious at home. The world froze for a heartbeat. We did everything we could. That was all I heard. My mind refused to absorb the rest. I felt the air leave my lungs in a single violent breath. Something inside me snapped, the kind of snap that rearranges a person forever. I pressed my palms into my eyes until stars burst in the darkness. I wanted pain. Something real. Something to fight against. Because how could words, just words, destroy an entire life? I tried to ask what happened, but my voice kept breaking, the questions dissolving on my tongue. The doctor explained calmly, clinically, while I drowned in the quiet between his sentences.
She was gone before she arrived.
They tried to revive her. They couldn't. I kept shaking my head. Not her. Not my wife. Not after everything we'd survived, everything we'd struggled through together. Memories slammed into me like waves. Her smile, our last stupid argument, the soft kiss she gave me that morning without realizing it would be her last. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. When they finally let me see her, I walked into the cold hospital room on legs that barely held me up. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Like someone sleeping through a storm. I touched her hand, expecting warmth, praying for warmth, begging silently for it. But it was cold. That coldness went straight through my skin, straight into my bones, anchoring itself somewhere dark inside me. I whispered her name once, then again, then louder, my voice cracking, shaking, pleading. I kept whispering because if I stopped, then it meant I was accepting it, and I couldn't accept something that felt like it had torn out half of my soul. I stayed there long after the nurses left me alone, long after the lights dimmed, long after I had no more tears left. My mind kept drifting back to every warning sign I'd ignored, every strange moment, every quiet shift in her behavior. It all felt connected now, forming a pattern I had been too blind or too trusting to see. And beneath all that grief, a sharp question formed, a question that wouldn't let me breathe. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept replaying the image she sent, her smile, his face, her arm around him like muscle memory had woken up inside her. A joke, she said. But jokes are never just jokes. They're pressure valves for hidden truths. And the truth pressing against my skull that night was that something between them never fully died. I felt like I'd been living with a ghost in my marriage without realizing it. A ghost wearing my clothes, eating at my table, kissing my wife. And finally, that ghost had a face. Around 3 a.m., I walked into the kitchen for water, but instead found myself scrolling through the last 3 years of our life together. Every photo, every trip, every birthday. And I noticed something I had never seen before. Anytime she laughed too hard, or joked about trust, or said something about people coming back from the past, her eyes flickered. A quick micro-expression, like lightning across a clouded sky. A flash of something brittle. Regret? Nostalgia? Guilt? It had always been there. I just never knew to look for it. By sunrise, I had drafted the divorce text 3 times and deleted it 3 times. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted the wording to hit with the exact weight of how I felt.
Direct. Cold.
Final. Before I could finish the 4th version, I heard her door open upstairs. Her early flight had just landed. She was home. "Baby," she called out, voice still soft from travel, like the world hadn't shifted. I didn't answer. I sat at the dining table, watching my phone screen. Her footsteps got closer, the sound of her suitcase wheels brushing the floor like a slow countdown to detonation. She stepped into the room and smiled. But it was the kind of smile worn by someone who has no idea their world is on fire. "You're awake," she said. I was gonna. I turned my phone toward her. Her own picture stared back at her.
The selfie.
Her arm around him. Her smile too easy. Her eyes too bright. She froze. Her suitcase handle slipped from her hand. I watched the moment her brain connected the dots. The little twitch in her jaw. The sudden swallow. Her heartbeat visible in her throat. "I told you it was a joke," she whispered. "I know," I said. "And this is mine." I hit send. She looked down as her notification chimed.
Divorce.
Her breath caught, sharp as breaking glass.
"Please don't do this. Talk to me."
But the moment she said talk, it clicked again. She had spoken to me the same way she spoke the night she first told me about her breakup with him. Soft, pleading, half sincere. Memory flashed like lightning, her sitting across from me 3 years ago, saying, "We were toxic together, but sometimes it's hard to explain what history feels like."
History.
That was the word that stabbed me now. Before she could take another step toward me, I stood.
We'll talk, I said.
But not today. Because I wasn't ready to hear lies wrapped in nostalgia. Not again. She followed me upstairs begging, crying, swearing she didn't even think about him that way anymore. But the more she talked, the more her voice cracked in the exact same rhythm it used to when she described heartbreak, not indifference, not disgust,
but loss.
And I realized something ugly. A person can move on without ever letting go. I walked into the guest room and shut the door, but I didn't lock it. Maybe some part of me wanted her to burst through and fight for me. Maybe some insecure, pathetic part of me still needed proof she'd choose me over him when truly pressed. But she didn't open the door. She just sat against the wall outside, crying into her knees. That quiet broke me more than any screaming would have. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling when my mind yanked me into our 7th backstory, the one I had avoided thinking about for years because it always felt like a loaded gun pointed at my marriage. The night she first told me about him. We hadn't even been official yet. We were sitting on the hood of my car, watching the city lights blink awake. She was laughing about something. God, her laugh used to sound like sunlight. Then suddenly the laugh faded and she said, "There was someone I really thought I'd marry." I had listened like a man waiting for a punch he pretends won't hurt. He was my first everything. My first trip. My first heartbreak. My first apology after a fight. My first almost forever. Almost forever. Those words slid into my bones and stayed there. She told me things I didn't ask for. How they broke up 3 times. How he cheated once. How she forgave him. How leaving him felt like learning how to breathe without a whole lung. She said the only reason she let go was because she woke up one morning and realized she wasn't the woman she wanted to be anymore. When she looked at me that night, tears balancing at the corner of her lashes, she said, "You make me feel like I can become her again." I believed her. But I should have asked more questions. Asked if she was healed. Asked if she was truly done. Asked why her voice trembled every time she said his name. Instead, I thought love alone could replace a history I never lived through myself. Now, lying alone in the guest room, I finally understood why that story mattered. If healing had been incomplete, then nostalgia would always be a doorway. And that selfie felt like she had stepped halfway into that doorway again. Her crying faded after an hour. My anger slowly shifted into something worse, wondering if I was already losing something I never truly owned. Wondering if she was sitting on the other side of the door longing for me, or longing for a boy she once loved in Paris. Scene 8. The next morning, she made breakfast even though she hadn't slept. Pancakes, eggs, the works. The kind of breakfast she used to make when she wanted to make up after small fights. But this wasn't small, and her hands were shaking too badly to hide it. "I need you to hear the whole story," she said as I walked past the kitchen. I stopped, not because I wanted her explanation, but because I needed to know what kind of battlefield I was standing on. Had she slipped? Had she rekindled something? Had the Paris air made her heart stupid again? I didn't know. And people fear silence more than pain, so she filled the air with words before I even sat down. That picture wasn't planned. I swear to God. I didn't even know he'd be there. I raised an eyebrow. At the same restaurant? In the same city? On the same night? "He lives in Paris now," she said. "You know that." I did. She told me that years ago. I just never thought it mattered. He walked in with his friends. We locked eyes. My friends freaked out. They shoved me toward him saying, "Take a reunion photo." And I don't know, I panicked and smiled like an idiot. It lasted 10 seconds. I walked away right after. "Did you talk?" She hesitated. That half-second hesitation is where trust dies. We exchanged 2 sentences.
About life.
About how we're doing. My chest tightened. "And that felt normal to you?" "No," she whispered. "It felt awful. It felt like holding a memory you don't want anymore." I didn't respond. I just stared at the food going cold. Then she added something that hit like a slow-moving truck. "I didn't send that picture to you to hurt you. I sent it because I wanted you to see that I walked away. I wanted you to see that I didn't hide it. That confused me. Then why was your smile so real? I asked. She looked at me with red, puffy eyes. Because I smile when I'm nervous. You know that. You always knew that. Did I?
Yes.
Yes, I did. She once smiled during a funeral because grief overwhelmed her. She smiled during bad news. She smiled when she didn't know what to do with her face. That was truth. And I hated that it softened me. She reached across the table carefully, like she was approaching a wounded animal. Let me fix this.
Please.
Let me fix us. My phone buzzed before I could answer. A text from an unknown number. Hey man, I think we need to talk about what happened in Paris. Her ex. He had messaged me. My blood turned to ice. I looked at her. She looked at me. And in that split second, doubt exploded like a bomb between us. What does he want? She whispered. I don't know, I said. But I'm going to find out. Her face drained of color. Please don't. Which told me more than the message itself. I stepped outside before I replied. The air was hot, buzzing with humidity, but my palms were cold. My mind raced through every possible angle. Why would he text me? How did he get my number? What did he think I didn't know? I texted back. Talk about what? His reply came instantly. Too instantly. Like he'd been waiting. About how it looked. About the past. About what she didn't tell you. My heart slammed against my ribs. The phrasing felt intentional. Calculated. Like he knew exactly where to press. I typed. Say it. Before he responded, my phone rang. His number. I let it ring. I wasn't ready to hear his voice. I paced the driveway like a man circling his own execution. Behind me, the front door opened. She stepped out, face pale, eyes wide. Please, she said softly. Don't answer him. Why not? Because he's not who he used to be. He likes messing with people now. Making them jealous. Making them insecure. He feeds on chaos. The way she said it, not fearful, but regretful, made my stomach churn. What did he say to you in Paris? I asked. She looked away. That was enough. I answered the call. His voice came through smooth, like someone who had rehearsed confidence his entire life. Hey, he said. Didn't think you'd pick up. What do you want? He chuckled. Relax. I'm not trying to steal anyone. My wife flinched beside me. But, he continued, I figured you should know she didn't tell you everything. I clenched my jaw. Say it. She asked me how I was doing. And when I told her I was seeing someone, she looked disappointed. My wife gasped. That's a lie. He laughed again. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But you weren't there, man. I felt something break loose inside me. Why are you doing this? I asked. Because she looked better with me, he said calmly. And I think part of her still knows that. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My wife grabbed my arm with trembling fingers. He's lying, she whispered. He's trying to get in your head.
He already did, I said.
And the worst part? I didn't know which version of her to believe. The woman crying beside me, or the ghost of the girl she used to be. The days that followed felt like living in a house with an unexploded bomb. Every step I took felt too loud. Every silence felt like a countdown. She tried everything. Long talks, apologies written on sticky notes, sleeping outside the guest room door. But every time I looked at her, all I saw was the selfie. Her smile. His presence. Her history. My insecurity. That's when I realized the real war wasn't between me and her ex. It was inside me. And inside her. Every relationship has a secret battlefield the world never sees. For us, it had always been the shadow of the man who came before me. A shadow she thought she'd outgrown. A shadow I thought I could outshine. Neither of us realized shadows only grow longer when the light shifts. 3 nights after the phone call, she walked into the guest room and sat beside me without asking. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen, but her voice steady. I need to tell you something, she said. I braced myself. When I saw him in Paris, I felt something. My chest tightened, painfully. But it wasn't love, she continued. It was grief. That I wasn't expecting. Grief for the girl I used to be. Grief for the years I wasted with him. Grief for how stupid I was to think he was my forever. When I smiled in that picture, it wasn't happiness. It was closure. Or, at least I thought it was. I didn't speak. She wiped her eyes. I didn't send that picture because I miss him. I sent it because I wanted you to know I have nothing to hide. I wanted you to see the moment I finally let go of whatever ghost was left. Her voice cracked. But instead, I triggered every fear you've ever had about us. The room went quiet. My heartbeat was the only thing I could hear. I want us, she said. But I need you to fight with me. Not against me. Something in me softened, but not enough to reach her yet. And what if I'm fighting a losing battle? Then let me show you why you're not. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something tiny. A necklace. A silver charm I had never seen before. This, she said, is the one he gave me years ago. I kept it because I didn't know how to let go back then. She placed it in my hand. I threw it away the moment I saw him in Paris. The charm sat cold against my palm, but her hand was warm over mine. Please, she whispered. Stop letting his voice be louder than mine. I wish healing worked that fast. I wish one emotional conversation could erase years of insecurity, jealousy, fear. But healing is slow and ugly. And the days after her confession were exactly that. Slow, ugly, painful. We talked. We argued. We cried. Some nights I held her. Some nights I slept in the guest room clutching that stupid silver charm like it was evidence in a crime scene we were still trying to solve. Then one night, out of nowhere, she said she wanted to take me somewhere. No explanations. Just get in the car. We drove to the lake where she and I first went stargazing years ago, where we'd climbed onto the hood of my car and she'd told me her whole story, the heartbreak, the almost forever, the trauma she carried like a scar on the inside. She climbed out of the car and leaned against the hood, just like before. The sky reflected in her eyes. But this time, she didn't look broken. She looked determined. I brought you here because this is where you first saw me, she said. I see you every day, I muttered. No, she whispered. You see the version of me that's competing with the memory. And I'm done letting that memory live rent-free in our marriage. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Then she opened the selfie. The one that had ripped us apart. I want you to watch something. She pressed play. It wasn't a photo. It was a live photo, those few seconds before and after a picture that the iPhone captures. And in those 3 seconds, everything changed. Because in the live motion, I saw her smile twitch. I saw her step back. I saw her grab her friend's arm and say, "Let's go, please." I heard the panic in her breath. She hadn't stayed with him. She had fled. The truth had been in the selfie the whole time. I just never pressed down long enough to see it. My knees buckled slightly. She watched me carefully, like she was waiting for the verdict of her life. I didn't even want that picture, she said. I walked away the second it happened. I looked at her, really looked at her. The trembling lips. The hopeful eyes. The exhaustion of fighting for someone who wasn't sure he wanted to be fought for anymore. And finally, the truth hit me like a wave. The threat had never been her ex. The threat had been my fear. I stepped closer. She didn't move. Why didn't you show me this earlier? I asked. Because you were angry, she whispered. And I didn't want the truth to feel like a defense. I wanted it to feel like a gift. My chest tightened. I'm sorry. She closed her eyes, exhaling shakily. I don't want sorry, she said. I want us. We sat on the hood of the car, watching the lake shimmer under the moonlight. She leaned her head on my shoulder like she used to, back before Paris became a scar neither of us asked for. And for the first time in weeks, the silence felt peaceful. Not tense. Not sharp. Just quiet. I deleted his number, she said softly. I know. I blocked him. Good. I chose you. I turned to her. I know that too. She lifted her head, eyes shining but steady. Then choose me back. And just like that, the weight in my chest loosened. Because I finally realized something I should have known from the beginning. Love isn't about eliminating every insecurity. Love is choosing someone despite your insecurities. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the silver charm she had given me. The last piece of her past. The last shadow between us. "We end this tonight," I said. She nodded. We walked to the edge of the lake together. I held the charm in my palm. She placed her hand over mine. "On 3, she whispered. 1, I said. 2. We looked at each other. 3. The charm hit the water with a tiny sound. Nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic. Just a quiet plink that disappeared into the dark. But it felt like dropping a weight I'd been carrying for far too long. She exhaled, a long, shaking breath. And then she stepped closer, pressing her forehead to mine. "No more ghosts," she said. "No more ghosts," I repeated. We kissed. Slow.
Honest. Raw.
The kind of kiss built not on passion but on survival. When we pulled apart, she smiled, small, soft, real. "You know," she whispered, "Paris didn't break us." "No," I said, "but it showed us what needed fixing." She laced her fingers through mine, and for the first time since the selfie, I didn't feel threatened. I felt chosen. I felt wanted. I felt enough. We stood there for a long time, holding each other in the night breeze. And somewhere between the ripples on the lake and her heartbeat against my chest, I realized the truth. Sometimes love breaks in order to rebuild stronger. Sometimes jealousy forces honesty. Sometimes a stupid selfie becomes the mirror you didn't know you needed. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the person you love chooses you twice. Once in the beginning, and once when it truly matters.